like squatting or cleaning or deadlifting, anything like that, to kind of like self-limit myself a little bit, and then just kind of build up that core strength so where I'm not relying so much on like the smaller muscles and like getting into bad positions where I am going to hurt my disc. And yeah, it feels a lot better.
Did you talk to, I'm just going to call him Zeus because I think it's an
That's
awesome
fine.
name.
Yeah, go with it.
Did you talk to Zeus about like any particular, or did you guys basically get to the bottom of what caused the injury in the first place? Like, was it like one spinal erector was bigger than the other, or one oblique was stronger than the other? Like,
that's weird. I do actually have two different spinal, like the sizes are actually different. I don't know if that was the issue, but that's true. Because in baseball, you just rotate one way, and I was not a switch hitter, so I just rotated that way. So my left spinal erector is enormous, and my right is smaller.
Dude,
it's
you didn't
better.
Even have to pay me for that one.
I know, yeah. I didn't talk with him so much. I talked about talked about it with the chiropractor and the like functional movement specialist that I go to.
Okay.
It's Keith Sparks, ICT Muscle and Joint Clinic.
You just got plugged.
Shout out. Yeah, he does really good work. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we talked about that, and we went over quite a bit of how I can go about fixing that. Some McKenzie press ups, some soft tissue work, and then like kind of breathing and bracing stuff. And yeah, continually working on that. That stuff's almost harder than like the lifting stuff because it's just so like motor control stuff. It's like really small movements.
It's annoying, isn't it?
It's frustrating,
Yeah.
especially if you're like one of those like kind of type A achievement type people where it's like, I want to do this perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so hard to do that perfectly.
It is.
But it's getting better.
Especially when you don't have someone watching you every day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you and I we both train alone. You train alone, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like, there's no one watching you. And you think you're moving well, but really...
Then you watch the video and it's like, oh my God, it's so ugly.
Yeah. You watch it and you're like, oh, my left hip is 2 inches lower than my right one, or, whatever was with you. And you're just like, how do I not feel that? Well, I mean, you feel it eventually when it finally gives up on you.
Yeah. Well, the higher level you get in any sport, not just CrossFit, I think you just run into better and better compensators. Mm-hmm. Nobody, even at the highest level, is moving perfectly. No. It's just their body have found ways to perform with like not balance, like with imbalances and with weaknesses and stuff like that. That's elite athletes are elite compensators.
That's a very good point. Yeah, because you're right. No one moves perfectly. Mm-hmm. No one moves perfectly, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm always hesitant to program too much symmetrical work. You know what I'm saying? Because the body is asymmetrical.
Right.
And so if you're always doing symmetrical work, the body's going to find compensation patterns to make it happen. And I think the only way to balance the body is through asymmetry. But then it's like you can't have as high of an output in asymmetrical movements generally. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? No one can lunge the same amount with one leg as they can squat bilaterally. You know what I'm saying? So it's always tricky trying to balance out keeping the body healthy, but also programming enough to make it progress. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Do you have any particular did they do a lot of rotation or like anti-rotation to try and fix that problem? Since you were a baseball player, I'm saying.
I've seen better results from anti-rotation than I have from rotation.
Yeah.
In the same well, I'm not gonna say that, but I like stuff like single arm bench pressing or Palov presses and stuff like that. I've seen better results from that than I have from like creating rotation.
I see.
And when I program for my athletes, I do the same thing.
Lots of anti-rotation.
More anti than creating.
Because most of this sport is anti-rotation,
and most of life is as well. Yeah. And I think if you're really good at resisting rotation, it's not all that hard to create it. Whereas if you're just really good at creating rotation, you're not necessarily good at controlling that range of motion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after the back healed, was that like 3 or 4 months, or was it longer?
No, it was
that?
more like a month.
Oh, it was just a month. Okay,
I bounced back pretty quick and probably started a little early.
Elite compensator.
Exactly,
Elite
dude. I am. Great compensator.
Yeah.
It was only about a month, but I still I didn't push the weights really at all for a number of months.
Yeah. What do you think the future holds for you as far as being an athlete is, especially with the new changes? Like, what are your thoughts on all that? Because that's intimidating, especially because, I'm assuming want to keep being competitive, but it's like you also want to know that there's going to be some reward at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, is that even there anymore for you? So if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I think the changes are frustrating, especially for those of us who were structuring our cycle and structuring our season around the Open Regionals games.
Yeah.
I think the underlying idea is, and like the whole idea of how they're restructuring it's kind of crazy.
Can you go into how they're restructuring? Because we're gonna have some people that don't even do CrossFit.
Yeah. So they're doing away with regionals. It's done. The way you get to the games is you can be either the top 20 in the Open, or you can win your country in the Open if your country has an affiliate. Or you can make it through one of 16 sanctioned events, which are things like Wadapalooza, Granite Games, Fittest in Cape Town, that stuff, if you win those events. So...
Meaning like winning the whole
you
thing
have to,
first
you
place.
have to, yeah, you have to win. It's not even podium.
16 sanctioned events. You got to be first in one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no like people from this area have to go to this sanctioned event. You can go to any
No,
one
you can
of
go
them?
to any of them you want.
Okay.
You can live in Texas and qualify from China.
Okay,
like
I
that's
gotcha.
if the sanctioned events in China. But yeah, and I think it's flawed because like the winner of the country thing, like that's crazy,
That
right?
is crazy.
I mean, like the fittest dude in Nigeria is not gonna compete with the 50th fittest person in Canada or America or something like that. And more importantly, like, okay, cool, you have a spot at the games. They can't make it here. Mm-hmm. Like the travel cost is unbelievably prohibitive.
Yeah.
So I mean, look at what happened this year. The guy who won the Europe regional, Roman Krenikov, he won the region. He's from Russia. He couldn't go to the games because he couldn't get a visa. And that's from Russia.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a visa from a major country.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a hard time getting visas if you're the fittest in Iran.
Yeah.
I don't think you can make
Yeah.
it over here.
Yeah.
And even if you could, you're talking about the travel costs, not only from Iran just to America. That's a couple $1,000s. Now you have to get from LA to the middle of the country in Madison, Wisconsin, which is not a major airport. It's a regional airport. So you have to do like an expensive, like 2 or 3 flights in the country just to get there. And you have to get back, so it's just like the people who win their countries probably not going to be at the games.
Time to set some GoFundMes.
Oh my God. The amount of GoFundMes would be crazy.
I'll row every calorie I row, I want $1.
Yeah.
The dude's just rowing for days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's an issue. There's other issues. And I think that it's still fluid. There's nothing official in terms of like the rule book. Like I think those things are going to happen. Like that's true. But I think the exact specifics will change. But I still think there's issues with it. But
Does that start in 2019 or is that
starts
2020?
now? Yeah, no regionals this year.
Well, there's no regionals this year.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I
No, it's
I was
done.
totally
Completely
under
done.
the impression that like we had one more year left.
No,
Well, this is it.
no regionals.
Oh man.
It's over. R.I.P. Yeah.
I almost feel happy that I was injured earlier this year. Now I don't, now I'm not let down by my injury. It's just not there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the way it looks for me right now is that I'm trying to go, or hopefully we'll be in physical therapy school next year, probably starting in May. So basically the way I see it is like I've got probably like 6 months or so, 6-7 months to make the most of my like competitive career.
Really?
So because it's gonna be really hard to compete in school. Like I know Pat Vellner does it in chiropractic school, and he can make that work. But
he probably doesn't work on top of that, right? He probably.
I think he does now. Actually,
Does he really?
I was
I
listening
feel
to
like that guy would
podcasts
have
with him.
enough sponsorships and stuff to
Well,
not have to work.
you kind of have to work to finish school, though.
Oh, you're saying like with like,
It's like
internship
internships
stuff. Yeah.
But so I don't know exactly what my competitive career will look like once I'm in school. So I'm really trying to make the most of it right now. So I'm doing the Wadapalooza qualifier. Hopefully we go as a team, the elite division, and then hopefully we'll be able to go to as many like sanctioned events in the country as I can make it to.
Is there a limit on how many sanctioned events you can go to? So if like for example,
your bank account will limit you, but
true. But like if let's take like Vellner. Okay. Vellner, obviously, I mean, there's no reason that guy shouldn't be at the games, right? But let's say for some reason he goes to an event, loses, gets second place. Like second place is losing, I guess.
Yeah.
But gets second place, and he's like, I'll just go to another one,
Yep.
and then goes to another one, and then he just gets first. So you can just keep going, just keep cycling through.
Yeah.
Man, that's gonna be wild.
It is.
I feel like you're going to see a lot of the same athletes at this. You know what I mean? Because they're just going to be like, I'm not stopping until I get there. You know what I mean? And you're just going to feed through.
There's going to be some heartbreaks too. I think that's what people aren't talking about is like there's going to be somebody who is like a perennial games athlete.
Yeah.
Like let's say somebody like Cole Sager.
Yeah.
I think he's a prime candidate for this to happen to because he's not good in the open and he's not that great at regionals. He makes it. Well, he makes it, but he never wins.
I know.
But then he goes to the games and crushes it.
Yeah.
You know, because he's well suited to what the games tests, and not necessarily so much to what the Open and regionals tests. So let's just assume he's not going to qualify out of the Open. He's not going to be top 20 in the Open, which means he has to go through a sanctioned event, which are very regionals-esque. You know, so if he comes in second or third, like I could see that happening, like 3 or 4 times, like a fan favorite and like a good guy like Cole Sager, who just like can't quite win one and doesn't get to go to the games.
I gotta be honest, man. I feel really bad for a lot of athletes because, and like I've never gone to regionals, obviously never will now. Rest in peace. Yeah. But like, you know, it's one of those things where I remember just training my butt off. You know, a lot of hours by yourself. You know, dark room, just putting all this work, and you want to see a little bit of fruit for from your labors. And I feel bad for a lot of athletes that have put years and years, and like they're just working towards this, and they're almost there, and then just get snatched away. And not just in this country, but other countries too. Because there are a lot of great athletes, and I feel like I want there to be more opportunities for those athletes to succeed. You know what I mean? Because if there's not those opportunities anymore, I feel like potentially, and I could be wrong here, I feel like the sports side of CrossFit will slowly die out a little bit. The amount of people will realize, like, hey, there's just no chance for me. I'm not even going to try and pursue it because the limited numbers, it's so small. But, you know, if there was a different structure where there were more opportunities for athletes to get sponsorships, something I was talking to one of our masters athletes about was I would like to see something where they alternate years. So, for example,
like an Olympic type thing.
Kind of, but with the divisions. So, like individual males, females, they'll compete like 2020, for example. And then 2021, we'll see the masters and teens compete. And what would that be great for? Is there'd be a lot of focus on a group of people, and you can handle more people. So basically, like the spotlight would be on all the individual athletes this year. So that means the sponsorships are coming their way. Following year, the individual athletes aren't competing. So now the spotlight's on the masters and the teens. So there's more opportunities for them to get sponsorships and make money and be in the spotlight. You know what I mean? As opposed to only a small group of people like Fraser and Katrin and Annie Thorsdott are always getting the spotlight. You never really recognize anybody else.
Yeah.
By rotating that through, I mean, logistically, it'd be a lot easier to give the athletes a little bit longer time to prep, recover, not have to go year in and year out. Because with this new system, the games are in October, right? So it's like games are...
No.
The
new Open will be in October.
Open's in October.
Yeah, the games are still July, I think. June or July.
Oh my God! So you go.
So you have like a whole almost year to qualify.
Yeah, but like after the games are done, it's like back for the Open again.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround.
That's a quick turnaround, as opposed to if they were to have a whole year. You know what I mean? Like the games are over now. I got a year to go back into it. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
I think
tricky.
the issue with that is like with sponsorships. You like Nike doesn't want to pay Matt Fraser to only see him once every 2 years.
True.
They want him in the spotlight as often as possible, like every year.
True.
Yeah. So I do think it's a sponsorship issue. And then the other thing is it becomes a steroid issue. Because if you give somebody 2 years and they know they don't have to do anything for 2 years, it's like I can dope way up for a full year and have a full year to cycle off. Or, however long you want to cycle off. So I think that ends up being an issue too. Because I think it's already an issue of like doing a big cycle in the off season and then cycling off for the games. Because I don't think there's a ton of like off season testing.
Do you think people do that, or do you think most of them are just genetic freaks?
I think there's less steroids than people think in CrossFit. While I'm at like kind of those regional events, at the higher levels, the first thing that I always notice is the dudes are not as big as you think they are.
Yes, I know. Isn't that crazy?
They really aren't.
Yeah.
Even the guys who it's just like, oh my God, like you see a video of them and it's like, this dude is a monster. The only person I've ever seen in person where I'm like, wow, you are exactly what I thought you looked like was Sam Dancer.
Yeah.
That dude is gigantic. And also a great guy. But I don't think people are as big as you think they are. And it's like more believable that they're not on steroids, because they don't have like 50-inch biceps. It's not absurd.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I don't think there's as many steroids in CrossFit because it doesn't help you that as much as you would think it would. If you do like a true like bodybuilding steroid or something like that, where